Namaskar friends, this is NJ, your host on this channel. In this video, we will have our discussion on the significance and contribution of Neptune in our lives, in our charts. So now friends, as you can freely see that in the transit, like currently Neptune is conjunct with Jupiter in the Pisces sign, and Rahu and Mars are conjunct with Uranus in the Aries sign. So it's not only our 9 planets but also the outer planets are also in a very strong dignity. And lately I realized this thing, that when I was uploading this video on the weekly transit results and the monthly transit results, so I was thinking about talking from the perspective of these outer planets as well. But then I realized that I have not talked exclusively about these planets on my channel, their attributes, their placement in different houses. So why not we can have exclusive 3 videos from these outer planets perspective as well, like Uranus's placement in different houses, Neptune and Pluto, and then later on I might also start including their contribution coming in the weekly transit and the monthly transit videos as well. So in this video friends, first we are going to have our discussion on the Neptune. So now friends, if I were to start this discussion first telling you that which zodiac sign or which planets resonate the qualities of Neptune in Vedic astrology. So the answer is very simple. When we talk about from planetary perspective, so it's the Ketu only which very closely resonate the qualities of Neptune. And many astrologers also correlate that Neptune manifests the combined energies of Moon and Venus in astrology. Now when we talk from the zodiac sign perspective, so definitely friends, it's the Pisces sign only which resonate the qualities of Neptune. So here we are not talking from the perspective of the co-rulership of like outer planets co-ruling any other sign. Here we are just talking from the perspective of that if you know the innate qualities of the zodiac signs or the basic attributes of all the 9 planets, so how you can closely correlate the qualities of Neptune. Now friends, like many Vedic astrologers who very strongly and very frequently relate and use these outer planets in their assessment, in their readings as well. So they have even gone to an extent that they even correlate our Hindu gods with these outer planets as well. Like they correlate Prajapati with Uranus, Varuna with the Neptune, and Yamraj, the lord of the karma, life and death, with the qualities of the Pluto. So you must have got to know that when we talk about Varuna, if you have watched my video on Sadbhisha Nakshatra and I keep on talking about Varuna as well, you must be knowing about that Varuna represents somehow the secrets of the ocean. When we talk about mystery, when we talk about healing, imagination, creativity, so these all are the attributes which are chiefly associated with Varuna. So if our Vedic astrologers have associated Varuna with the Neptune, so definitely Neptune must be carrying within itself all these qualities as well. Now friends, when we talk about from the transit perspective, so definitely like Uranus roughly stays in one zodiac sign for close to 7 years of time. When we talk about from Neptune's perspective, so Neptune stays in one zodiac sign in transit for close to 14 years of time. Now you must be wondering that if a planet stays in one zodiac sign for such a long span of time, will it contribute its transit or its shift in the transit is going to exert any influence in my life or not? So friends, I want to be very honest and very clear over here that definitely you cannot correlate all those kind of events, like when we talk about getting a job or getting married or buying a home or those kind of events with any shift of Neptune. But when we talk about Neptune's influence in your life, in your innate personality, that can definitely be experienced if you will find Neptune to be conjunct or placed in very distinctive or specific alignments in your chart. So let's say for example, if your natal moon is conjunct with Neptune, so definitely your moon will absorb the qualities of Neptune. If Neptune is placed right over there in your first house and also closely conjunct with your ascendant degrees as well, then definitely your personality will resonate the qualities of Neptune. And also if you will find Neptune to be placed in the 10th house or being conjunct with your 10th house lord, so somehow in your professional endeavors you will definitely experience the qualities of the Neptune. Now friends, when we talk about from the nakshatra perspective, so definitely you have to take into consideration Neptune's nakshatra as well in your natal chart, because friends, whenever we talk about the true innate qualities or the powers which planets manifest, so definitely looking at or studying a planet only from the perspective of the zodiac sign is not gonna give you any clear and concise picture, because deep within a zodiac sign there is energy of 3 different nakshatras. So if you actually want to study these outer planets as well, so definitely within the zodiac sign you have to go to the nakshatra as well, in which nakshatra that planet is placed in. Someone will also get curious amongst you that then in those scenarios, do we also have to look at Neptune's placement in the D9 chart or the Navamsa chart? So yes, you have to see like Neptune's placement in the Navamsa chart as well, because that is going to give you this indication that what is the driving force or the spark or the true dignity of Neptune in your natal chart, or its energies, the way it is manifesting its results in your life. Now friends, starting our discussion. So if you have to describe Neptune, how will you describe its qualities? So Neptune in a way represents deep mystery, fantasy, imagination, creative talents, spirituality. Now friends, the beauty of Neptune is that in whichever house it is going to be placed in, native is definitely going to have strong inclination towards finding out the deeper and hidden meaning of the signification of that house. And the beauty of Neptune is that it has got very transcendental qualities, like it can definitely take you beyond the realm of the signification of that house. Like if I were to share my own chart as well, so Neptune also represents spiritual qualities as well, spiritual potential as well. And friends, in my natal chart, Neptune is placed in the 9th house in the Sagittarius sign. And trust me, if I were to share Neptune's placement in my D9 chart, so over there it is placed in a water sign in the Cancer, right over there in my 1st house, being like aspected by Moon and Ketu, which are conjunct in the opposite house. Here I'm talking about the D9 chart. So now friends, when we talk about the qualities of Neptune, like the way I already explained this thing at the beginning of this video, that Neptune in a way represent the combined dual qualities of Moon and Venus. Like the way many astrologers say this thing, that when we talk about the signification of the Pluto, which in a way represents the power struggle, strong willfulness. So Pluto's energy can be represented by a dual combined effect of Mars and Saturn conjunction in someone's chart. So same way friends, Neptune represents the qualities of dual combined conjunct qualities of Moon and Venus in someone's life. And here friends, when we talk about even the prospects of love, the prospects of creativity or imagination, here we are talking about completely getting submerged in the signification of that house where Neptune is going to be placed. Like the way friends, when we talk about Venus, so Venus in a way can give you love on a personal level. But when we talk about elevating your definition of love, where you are finding that love in your divine pursuit, you are finding that love in the signification of serving to the humankind. So this is the kind of potential or quality which Neptune carries within itself. And friends, specifically when we talk from the perspective of sacrifice, so these all are the qualities which Neptune carries within itself. Like a Neptune dominated person will be very happily willing to sacrifice its share in order to provide or impart happiness to others. And also friends, like definitely when we talk about from the fantasy perspective, imagination perspective, so all these are the qualities which Neptune manifest in a very stronger way. And if your Moon is going to be conjunct with Neptune, Neptune is going to be strongly conjunct with your ascendant degrees. So these are going to be the defining qualities of your personality. Now friends, when we talk about from the negative side or the vulnerable side of the qualities of Neptune, so over there friends, many times what has been seen that Neptune has got a very extreme side attached to it. So it can also give you very inflated expectations. Many times it has been seen that in extreme cases, either a person being influenced by Neptune will be ready to sacrifice or shoulder up responsibilities of other people as well. But in extreme cases, native can also go to such an extent that he will try to avoid his share of responsibilities or will come up with some sort of excuses in order to escape from any sort of duties or responsibilities. So in majority of the cases where you will find people to be seeking refuge in drugs, addictions, just to escape the daily life's duties and responsibilities. So Neptune in a way can also make you very unrealistic or not very practical, and also it can also impart escapist tendencies as well. So these are the pros and cons of the true Neptune qualities, friends. Now we will try to dig deeper and we will try to understand Neptune's placement in different houses and which way it is going to be exerting its influence in your life. So now friends, just because Neptune is going to be placed right over there in your first house. Now if you will also find that Neptune's degrees are very closely conjunct with your ascendant degrees, then definitely Neptune is going to have a strong say in your personality. So now friends, Neptune, which is a very gentle planet, which is a very psychically sensitive, very impressionable planetary vibration. So that is how your personality is going to get shaped up. Other people are not gonna see you as a threat or as a challenge. And I would also say that many times what happens is that with this kind of alignment, your emotions respond very strongly to your physical self. Second thing is that friends, your attitude towards the outer world becomes very important. Like monitoring that becomes very important, because with this kind of alignment, it can also gives a very vague kind of approach towards the realities of the life. Also friends, like I have already explained this thing, Neptune is a very impressionable energy. You will act like a sponge in any given external environment, where whatsoever is going to be happening all around you, you will be absorbing the energies of your surrounding environment or of all the people will be dealing on daily basis. But friends, this placement can actually act as a blessing in disguise. That let's say for example, if you will pursue any specific career where like working on any creative field is getting involved, being very imaginative, dreamy, all those kind of spiritual pursuit. So for all those professions or line of work, this placement can actually work as a blessing in disguise. But friends, in a nutshell, your emotional responses to any given situation needs to be monitored. But the blessing with this placement is that your psychic sensitivity or your psychic awareness is definitely going to be very strong, and depending on in which alignment moon is placed in your natal chart, it can actually give you very good success in any intuitive, creative, spiritual pursuit. Now friends, if you will find Neptune to be placed in your second house, so now friends, it all comes down to in which dignity Neptune is placed in the second house. Let's say for example, if you will find any earth sign to be placed in the second house, over and above that, if Jupiter is conjunct with Neptune over here, Moon or Venus is conjunct with Neptune over here, or Saturn is aspecting, most importantly Saturn is aspecting Neptune in the second house, then it can manifest some very good results. Like this can be seen as a very good sign for having your income, your financial inflow from the fields connected with Neptune. When we talk about Reiki healing or photography, artistic creative pursuit, screenwriting, novel writing, so you can be very good in all those kind of pursuit. Like many times I've seen that like all those people who are the motivational speaker or the spiritual preachers and all of that, they have a strong and well placed, well dignified Neptune to be placed in their second house. But friends, this placement has also got a very vulnerable side to it. Like when we talk about the vulnerable side, so definitely friends, regarding the matters of the finances, it can give a very unrealistic approach, like people taking important financial decisions depending on relying on their hunches, on their intuition, or that kind of mindset that one day I will be rich without having any grounded reality or facts or hard work put in place. Friends, a good part with this placement is that if you are a very spiritually oriented person, it can give your personal philosophies, or it can make your personal philosophies in the life to be very non-materialistic. But again, the whole chart has to be pointing out in that direction. But if you are not a very spiritually minimalistic driven person, then in those kind of scenarios, for someone who is driven towards a materialistic, financially governed life, then this placement can actually cause a havoc in the life of the person. So definitely friends, it is a very sensitive placement with attached pros and cons to it. But if you will find Neptune to be well aspected by Saturn, and in a win-win situation, Jupiter, Moon or Venus to be conjunct with Neptune over here in the second house, it can definitely give you income or financial inflow from the fields connected with spirituality, creativity. Now friends, if you will find Neptune to be placed in the third house, so now again I will say the same thing. If in your line of work, creativity is an integral part of that. Now friends, Neptune's placement in the third house can actually act as a blessing in disguise for this generation of kids, because third house is a prime house of learning, like the way ninth house is the house of wisdom and teaching, and third house is the house of the learning, acquisition of knowledge. So generally people with a prominent third house and with the placement of Neptune over here, people generally respond more to the creative form of teaching rather than that traditional very orthodox form of learning or teaching. Second thing is that friends, like many times it has been seen that this placement give rise to lot many karmic lessons which comes on the account of your relationship with your friends, with your siblings. That generally takes place in the early half of the life. And also friends, like specifically there could be some sort of hurts or disappointments in the first half of the life, which might be governed by because of your unrealistic approach towards the life. So like you might have a very impressionable personality, you might be very psychically sensitive to your surrounding environment, so because of which some early hurts or disappointments can be seen with this placement. But again friends, I will be very honest, this placement might not be very conducive, very harmonious for being on time for all of your appointments, always sticking to your schedule, all of your like motivation and your goals and your wish list, precisely sticking to them. But when we talk about having a very vivid imagination towards your vision or towards your growth prospects in the life, over there this placement can be seen as a blessing in disguise. And again friends, if in any way in your writing, like specifically you are a freelance or you are a self-employed person, you work with your hands, you are a graphic designer, you are a writer, or you are an influencer, so for all those people, this placement of Neptune over here can actually work a lot in your favor, because in your craft you will definitely put in your original creative imagination, and that is going to strike a chord with your audience. Now friends, if you will find Neptune to be placed in the fourth house, so now definitely friends, this can give a very kind of a sacrificing nature, or your domestic life, your family life might demand a lot of sacrifice out of you. Now friends, with this kind of alignment, there could be some sort of hidden secrets within your family life as well, like something which your family has been hiding from the outside world, and this is something which has been passing over from many generations. Now, like the way I always say this thing, everything has got a pros and cons attached to it. Like in many traditional Hindu Indian families, there is a part of the secret esoteric like knowledge of Jyotish and Hastrekha, palmistry, where these family traditions have been preserving all of these knowledge within their family ties only. So this secrecy of Neptune's placement in the fourth house can act and can manifest in so many different ways. And also friends, like with this kind of alignment, the fourth house lord's placement also need to be given strong scrutiny, because many times what we have seen in the research is that with this kind of alignment, native either over idolize his childhood, or he just over exaggerate any of the childhood experiences. So what exactly happened in the childhood and the kind of output or the impressions or the morals which you have extracted out of that need to be monitored with proper scrutiny. Second thing is that friends, like definitely if in your line of work there is any sort of like creativity, imagination, prophetic dreams, or remaining aloof or secluded from the world and focusing on your craft, devoting yourself to any sort of service or charity or exploration, living in isolation in any monastery, or because of your work, because of your duty, staying away from your family for so many long span of time. So all these are the probable indicative results which we can see with this kind of alignment or this kind of placement of Neptune in your 4th house. And friends, also if you will find that over here there is a water sign which is falling in your 4th house where Neptune is placed, then definitely friends it can give very sort of, although when we talk about dreams that is the domain of the 12th house, but in a way friends all the water houses hold this potential where your intuitive psychic awareness tend to remain very strong, and any sort of communication with the spirit world through tarot, through different mediums can be very successfully established with this kind of placement of Neptune in your 4th house. Moving ahead friends, now let's say for example if you will find Neptune to be placed in the 5th house. So now friends, this placement can be seen as a blessing in disguise for all those people who are connected with the fields of art, entertainment, creativity. Like if you are an actor, you are a musician, so trust me, this placement can actually give you an upper edge over your competition. Like definitely your your command over your craft, your capacity to be very innovative, be very original and think about something. Because friends, in a way when we talk about the original creative spark, so you cannot explain that, because I have worked in an ad agency and I know that when we are working on a creative brief, so there are like a bunch of 5 people who are brainstorming on any specific brief, but why that idea strike to one specific person only? So there is no rational explanation for that. That could be a case that that person might have researched or he might have some background on that specific like idea or connected brief, but many times this is just the astral connection which we have. And Neptune in a way is a very mystical planet. I have already explained at the beginning of this video that Neptune manifests the qualities of Ketu and conjunct combined qualities of Moon and Venus. So it can actually grant you very good artistic skills with this placement in your 5th house. Now the vulnerability generally comes in the matters of the relationship, like specifically when we talk about the parenting aspect. So over there you might have to sacrifice a lot on your parenting stage and getting or receiving kind of very less in return. And when we talk about the relationship or love or romance aspect, so many times we have seen that friends, like it can actually give a lot of fantasy, like running into all those relationships where either person is not willing to commit, very distant, very dependable. So always running into those kind of relationship, and also your degree and sense of definition of love and romance could be very utopian, like too much fantasy, which is very far away from the nitty-gritty or the realities of the life. So that is how this placement can actually function if you will find Neptune to be placed in your 5th house. But again friends, if I were to summarize, for your cognitive and mental capabilities to be working in a very intuitive plane as well at the same time, so this placement can actually give you an upper edge. And specifically if you are working in any of the fields of product development or creativity, spirituality, bhakti, yoga, devotion, so this placement can actually work a lot in your favor. Now friends, Neptune's placement in the 6th house is a very sensitive energy which needs to be studied, that whether other strong planets like Mars, Saturn or Jupiter are compensating this placement or not with their aspect. Like Mars could be ruling your 6th house, Saturn could be placed in your 6th house, or Mars or Saturn or Jupiter might be aspecting your 6th house or the 6th house lord, then in those kind of scenarios we can actually get this idea that Neptune is not gonna affect the signification of the 6th house in a negative way. Because friends, definitely this placement is giving rise to more of the vulnerabilities, because native might have a very superficial approach towards doing the hard work. You might be very good in visualization aspect, but when we talk about putting down all of your ideas and your goals to the statistics, to the numbers, and then working hard on that, so over there native might struggle. Like, this is not a very good placement for sticking to your routines, to your goals, to your plans. And also friends, like, this can also make native little bit vulnerable towards, like, sensitivity towards allergies, towards infections. And also when we talk about any sort of leadership, so even in the daily work environment, native might also very easily given to any sort of pressure which might come from the subordinates. Now friends, over here when we talk about the specifically the pressure from the perspective of Neptune, so here we are not talking about the physical aggression or any sort of heated energy. Here we are talking about just sympathetically people might try to take advantage of you, or you might not be very much willing to take the credit of all the hard work which you have done. You might be very easy to sacrifice all the credit, or people might see you as little bit gullible. So that is how you can see this placement of Neptune in your 6th house. But again friends, I will again say the same thing. If you are on that top management where there are other people to look after you, and you work as a influencer or in any sort of creative field, then this placement can actually manifest very good results. It's not only the creative field, but also a lot many people who work as a caregiver, working with the children, working with people with special needs, or any of the concerns of autism, or dealing with nature, working with the wildlife, with the animals and all of that. So this placement of Neptune in the 6th house can actually manifest some very good results. Now friends, if you will find Neptune's placement in the 7th house, so now friends, definitely this placement can be seen as a very good sign for bringing out the good in other people. Like, here we are specifically talking about your relationship. So you might be a very empathetic person within the relationship. You might put your best foot forward in order to bring the best out of your partner, where if other alignments are also very supporting, you might also get the due recognition or kind of appreciation for all the hard work, all the sacrifices which you do in the relationship. Now friends, when we talk about being very pragmatic, being very realistic, at the time of choosing and selecting the right partners, over there this placement can actually create some sort of vulnerability. Like, you might fall for all those kind of relationship where either the person is not available, person has got some commitment sort of issues, or many times you have this mindset that other person is drowning and you have to save that person. So you are in that relationship just for the sake of empathy or trying to help someone who is going through some sort of challenges and all of that. So that is how, in a very esoteric way, energies manifest if you will find Neptune to be gaining strength in the 7th house. Over and above that friends, definitely whether you are on that verge that you have to choose or select a partner for yourself, or whether you are already in a relationship. Now here we can include the relationship on a matrimonial perspective as well. Here we can include the business partnership as well. So it becomes very important the way you set the boundaries, so that other person is not gonna take advantage of yours. So this is the only thing which I want to say. And definitely friends, because whatsoever planet is placed in the house, it somehow shapes up or colors up the qualities of that house. So here when we talk about the committed relationship, so definitely there is going to be a lot of deeper craving for elevating in the matters of that house. And if your overall planetary vibrations are very esoteric, very spiritually driven, and your 7th house lord is also very well placed, so you might also remain lucky in finding a partner who will contribute in your spiritual journey as well. Moving ahead friends, now let's say for example if you will find Neptune to be placed in your 8th house. So now friends, specifically with this kind of alignment, it has got a very extreme sides attached to it. Now I will be very honest with you guys. a lot will depend on the Desh Kal Patra, the culture, the era, or the kind of lifestyle or the community in which you are living in. Trust me, when we talk about the beneficial side of this placement, so for anything to do with the spiritual realm, like out of the body experiences, astral experiences, prophetic dreams, very strong psychic faculties, strong intuition. So regarding that front, this placement can actually prove to be very beneficial for you. Now whether you talk about from the creative aspect, spiritual aspect, even from the sexual aspect as well, this placement can create very good energies. Now friends, many times because the innate nature of Neptune is of sacrifice, of being a giver, so many times what happen is that in all these areas, native will be very much willing to surrender to the needs and priorities of the partner. So regarding that front, this placement is going to be creating much of a supporting energy. The only vulnerability comes in the matters of the inheritances, anything to do with the joint resources and over there, because unless and until you're not gonna have other supporting factors in your chart, this might make you very unrealistic, very unpractical, unpractical, I do not know what the word is, but yes, this is how it is going to make you at the time of setting up the boundaries in any sort of financial joint resources allocation. So over there friends, you have to remain very watchful the way your chart is responding to other factors or to the chart of your partner, because you do not want to come across as someone who's very gullible or someone of whom anyone can easily take advantage and all of that. So friends, on the financial front, in the matters of the joint resources, inheritances, taxes, alimony and all of that, over there you have to remain bit cautious, bit careful. But when we talk about the creative, intuitive, psychic, spiritual, sexual aspect, this placement of Neptune can actually create some very good results which will accelerate your spiritual progress in the life. Now friends, talking about Neptune's placement in the 9th house, which can be seen as a blessing in disguise, because friends, this placement is definitely going to give you a very strong faith in the universe. Like specifically friends, when we talk about those kind of fields, like you want to become an actor, you want to become a musician, where there is a lot of competition, and moreover your skills and your capabilities, it all comes down to being discovered at the right time. So unless and until you do not have a strong 9th house, trust me, you will not be able to make it towards the patience, struggle and long list of disappointments and early rejections and failures in the life. So with this kind of placement, if you will find that you have got some other supporting factors, like definitely the houses of the talent, like 3rd house, 5th house are strong in your case, your willpower, your determination, your ascendant lord is in a strong dignity, and over and above that, with this placement of Neptune in your 9th house, it can actually make you or give you, impart you this sort of strong faith in the universe, in the theory of karma, law of attraction, law of manifestation. So this placement can be seen as a very good sign for all those areas. Now friends, when we talk about regarding the matters of the teaching or any sort of MBAs and the higher studies and over there, it can give rise to some sort of confusion. But when we talk about from the teaching perspective, like if you are a teacher, you are a trainer, so definitely you are going to be very creative, you are going to be very much like passionate, or even sacrificing to the extent of that you will not care for the recognition or the money which you are making. You will unconditionally put yourself towards the well-being of your students or the good intentions with which you are teaching or you are in your profession. So that is how we can see this placement of Neptune in the 9th house. It can actually make someone very hopeful, very optimistic in the life. Moving ahead friends, now let's say for example, if you will find Neptune to be placed in your 10th house. So definitely friends, this can give rise to a very unusual career, or you can be very good in a profession where there is a lot of creativity, imagination or humanitarian work, helping people, serving people is required. That is an integral part of your line of work. But friends, when we talk about from the perspective of the recognition, this is a very kind of a karmic alignment where just because in some past lifetime you might have earned a title, or you might have got the recognition which you might not have earned in those past lifetime. So during this time, no matter how much you are working hard, the recognition aspect might struggle. So here we are not talking about from the perspective of the defamation. We are not talking about from that perspective. It's just like that, if you're putting in efforts of 10, you are just getting the recognition of 6 or 5. So for that, you have to take into consideration other overriding factors as well. With this kind of placement, you might have a very strong Venus over here. Your 7th house of the masses might be in a very strong dignity, so that might override this placement. But individually, friends, your profession might demand a lot of sacrifice out of you, and many times we have seen that when you are in that stage where you have to follow a chosen or a fixed path in the life, stand alone Neptune can create a mystery over there, illusion over there, confusion over there. Now this could be because of, let's say for example, you are the son of a lawyer, of an actor, of a doctor, and just because of the struggle which other members in your family have seen, like let's say for example, you want to join the army, your heart beats for joining the army, but just because within your family some of the family members have got martyred in the same field, so because of which you are in this dilemma that your heart is wanting you to be on one specific path, but the family circumstances or what happened within the family is not allowing you. So over there it can create some sort of karmic energy. If let's say for example, if Ketu is also being placed over there, or some sort of alignment or aspect of Saturn which is indicating that direction as well. Like for example, Neptune is placed in the 10th house and 10th house lord is placed in the 8th house, then trust me, this will definitely create uncertainty regarding following a definite path in the life. But definitely friends, for being in an unusual field, making use of creativity, imagination, and associating with the humanitarian work, being of service to the humankind, this placement can be seen as a very good sign for doing good in all those areas. Now friends, if you will find Neptune to be placed in the 11th house, so definitely it is going to give you very idealistic, very humanitarian views towards the world. Now friends, this placement has also got a very distinctive attached attributes or results to it. Like for example, when we talk about the matters of the social gathering, social association, or the friendship, so definitely this can make you very accommodating, very non-judgmental, very non-discriminating in any sort of while tying the bonds with people, while associating or establishing friendship with people. The only vulnerability is that it can actually make you kind of very gullible in the relationship, that if you're not gonna get good support from other placements or alignments in your chart, other people might take advantage of yours. Also friends, with this kind of alignment, for anything to do with the artistic or creative work, this placement can actually give you very good success in all those fields. Also friends, because Neptune is a very impressionable planet, it's a very sacrificing planet, and 11th house is something where we are placed in a large groups. So definitely your psychic sensitivity or awareness is something that in whichever group you will associate yourself, you will definitely absorb all those surrounding energies. So it becomes very important for you to the kind of people you are associating yourself with, the kind of environment, causes, or belief, or the ideologies you are associating yourself with. And one more thing friends, which I want to say over here is that, like definitely friends, 11th house is the house of the dreams, of the goals, of all of our hopes. Like this is also the house of the wish fulfillment as well. But over and above that, if you're not gonna find other supporting factors, like let's say for example, if you're going to find water sign to be placed in the 11th house, like Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, and over and above that, other supporting concrete factors in your chart are not that strong, or they are not supporting or aspecting the 11th house, like Saturn and Mars, then in those kind of circumstances, native might remain confused in the life, daydreaming, always fantasizing, evading the hard work, but always dreaming or being in his head only. So that is how the results can manifest. So this placement can actually make you a very true humanitarian in any sort of association in the life. But when we talk about working consistently and being very realistic, very pragmatic towards your goals, towards your dreams, over there we have to see the supporting energies in other alignments in your chart. And last friends, if you will find Neptune to be placed in your 12th house. So definitely friends, in one line, if I were to summarize this placement is, it's about either serve or suffer. Because friends, like Neptune's placement in the 12th house gives rise to lot of psychic awareness. Trust me, out of all the placement, this is one placement which can actually give you all sort of spiritual gifts, like astral travel, strong intuition, out of the body experiences, like being a very good healer, being a very good tarot reader. So it all comes down to whether you are utilizing all of these energies in the right direction or not. Trust me, nothing works better for you other than relying yourself or aligning your energies with any sort of spiritual pillar of faith. So faith, religious, spiritual austerities, doing yoga, doing meditation becomes very important for you. And over and above that friends, for all the doctors and nurses, people working in these kind of different institutions, or like I keep on hearing about all those institutions like Doctors Without Borders. So all those people who work in these kind of charitable, humanitarian and service driven profiles. So this placement of Neptune in your 12th house can actually make you a very good healer. And whether you are following the traditional path of medicine, or whether you are becoming a faith healer, you are becoming any sort of like occultist, this placement is definitely going to grant success in all those endeavors. And definitely friends, for all of the answers of your highly strong nature, pent up nervous energies, spirituality or creativity is going to be the answer with this placement of Neptune in your 12th house. So this is something friends which I wanted to say as a part of my inputs for Neptune's placement in all different houses in our chart. For further more updates and notifications on the divine science of Vedic astrology, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and like my Facebook page. Dhanyavad.